All right, guys, welcome to Liquidation Motivation. And today we're doing another video with a collaboration with WHSL Marketplace Show. Guys, if you haven't reserved your tickets yet, please go to WHSLmarketplace.com. Get your seat, get your booth, get whatever you need, guys. We have another great guest on the line today, a booth owner at the marketplace, guys. Welcome to the stage, Mike Flores. All right, Mike, we ask everybody this question when they come on the show. What was your life before liquidation?
Yeah, so before liquidation, I live in California. I was from the Bay Area, San Jose. So I was in software sales, so B2B, SaaS. I did that for the previous decade. Started off, entry level, just setting appointments, and then that graduated all the way up to being account executive, running full sales cycles. And then I moved from the Bay Area to Sacramento. And that's when I got into the liquidation wholesale space.
Nice. And your first experience was with Brooklyn?
No, my first experience was I was with the wholesale group out of Sacramento. Parent company is RL Liquidators. So I was with them for a couple years.
Okay, and what'd you do over there?
Over there, I ran the wholesale team. So initially I started off helping expand their franchisees. And then from there, I kind of transitioned over to helping with the wholesale side of it. And my main goal was to help just expand partnerships with retailers to help them with their overstock returns, kind of grow those partnerships, and then lead the sales team on the wholesale side.
Okay, so you guys dealt with a lot of the retailers in this industry, right? Correct.
Yeah. With your big box retailers, commercial clubs, those brands.
All right. How did you meet Brooklyn?
So I met Brooklyn at ASD in Las Vegas. He was just walking the show. We had a booth there. We met. I kind of got a feel for what he was doing. Brought him on quickly as one of the partners, one of our suppliers with the wholesale group. And we started doing business from there. And then fast forward a couple years, I was leaving the wholesale group to kind of go on my own venture to do something else. And Brooklyn circled back with me and was like, hey, why don't you, since you're not with the wholesale group anymore, let's partner up and, we can kind of expand what I'm doing and, put some gas on the fire, if you will.
Nice. Okay, so what does Wireless Bro do? What do you guys do?
So what do? Our bread and butter is we liquidate for 3PLs, right? So we have programs. We're a little unique. We're obviously not an Amazon or a Target where we have tons and tons of loads and we're setting up contracts with our partners, but we have a consistent flow of our own programs that we offer out of New Jersey, out of California, and then sprinkled throughout the rest of the state, right? So we have some stuff in Georgia and Texas, but our primary locations are on the East and West Coast. And we do a lot of returns programs that we have for the different size and then we have overstock programs. We have clothing programs, we have return mail programs, and we have, I said clothing already, right? And we have other HBC programs that we offer.
Okay, for those who don't know, what is a 3PL?
So a 3PL, so if you have, let's say, Tom, you created your own product and you're selling lights for webinars, right? So you can have a light for your screen. And you don't want to go through the hassle of renting, getting a warehouse space, doing the whole fulfillment center, being able to fulfill orders from your e-commerce business. A 3PL essentially just plays a partner role. So you send all your inventory to the 3PL, we'll fulfill your orders and ship them out. So you don't have to worry about the logistics part of your business. You just concentrate on the sales and driving revenue.
Nice. So what kind of products are you guys moving?
Anything under the sun. We literally have, I've seen anything from higher end electronics all the way to stickers for calendars. So we have, it's all and everything in between. So there's not, we really don't, we're not agnostic to one type of product or program.
So you work a lot with 3PL facilities. What other places do you get your loads from?
Right now, we also have other partners that have other relationships with vendors. So that whether you think about higher end clothing, like your name brand, Nikes, Adidas, Pumas, those of the Under Armours of the world. So we have partners that supply us with those. in more of the liquidation fashion, right? If they're liquidating inventory in that fashion. We don't really play too much in the wholesale space. So a lot of people might not know the difference where they're like, this is a wholesale deal versus a liquidation deal. So I think, so any of our partners that need help liquidating merchandise, if they're stuck with inventory, that's where Wireless Bro will come into play and help them kind of solve that problem.
Nice. And do you use your experience working for the wholesale group to find these customers?
Sure. Well, yeah, I mean, I think it's a big industry, right? I think it's over $600 billion industry, but the more you click into it, I think it's really small. So you kind of, these different trade shows and events that we go to, you see a lot of the same people. So once you got a network established, it's pretty easy to, as long as you're still that person, do the right thing, it's easy to stay connected with these different suppliers.
Right. So how important do you think these trade shows are for buyers and sellers in this marketplace? What benefits does WHSL give to you?
Yeah, so I think before, if you ask this question, I would be, it's not necessary to go, because it's a waste of time. You're going to travel. You're going to hope that people come by your booth, and they don't have to come by your booth. Nobody wants to be getting sold to, but it's actually quite the opposite in our industry. I think even if you're not, so the wholesale group for me, the wholesale show for me, even if I make one connection out of this trade show, it'll pay for itself 10 times over. An example is like how I met Brooklyn at a trade show, right? He was just walking the show. If I wasn't there, me and Brooklyn never meet. And the crazy thing is I think I was receiving emails from him before. Somehow I got an email list, and I just ignore them, right? Because there's no face to a name. So I think being at a trade show, being on the floor and meeting people face to face gives you that trust and that credibility that, like, hey, it's a real person. Because sometimes you can see stuff that looks too good to be true in this industry, and most of the time it is, right? So it's good to verify and be in person and meet people to kind of take away those insecurities or those doubts that they have, where a lot of people who are jaded in the space have been done wrong, quite frankly. So I think trade shows help eliminate that friction, build trust, and then allow you to open doors that you would never open before, because you're just not in that room,
Right. And a big difference in the WHSL show is that it's all liquidation, right? It's all liquidation.
Yeah. Which is rare, right? I think it's one of a kind, right?
It's the only one that I know of. Yeah.
In that respect. Yeah.
Yeah. And so also I recommend to everybody is that not only do you go to the show and meet whoever you can, but you have to go to the meetups afterwards. Do you find value in the meetups afterwards?
To be honest, that's kind of where the connections happen, right? Because like you're on the trade show and you're talking on the surface level, you actually make connections, because I think in this industry, there's enough people to go around, and you work with who you want to, right? So when you go to the meetups after, you get to choose who you work with, right? And that's kind of a cool thing about the industry. You don't have to work with everybody, right? So I think the meetups give you that quality to meet, like, hey, do our values align? Is this somebody I want to talk to? Is this somebody I want to work with? Because technically, once you do start a relationship in this industry, there's a lot of trust that you have to have on the other end. There just is. Even if you already received the money and you got guaranteed the freight, the trucker could take off on you. There's just so many horror stories. I'm sure you heard them all. See, there's got to be a bond between each other where you can lean on each other and take their word. So I think that happens off of the floor, at dinners, at events, one-on-one connections for sure.
Yeah, 100%. So Mike, what do you think the fastest way a buyer can get burned in the liquidation industry?
I think the fastest way is not verifying your source, right? So the fastest way is just sending, like I was mentioning earlier, see a deal that's too good to be true. You don't poke around, ask enough questions. You don't verify the source, and you send your wire and you have no idea who you're sending it to, when the inventory's coming, where the FOB is, when the pickup date is, and there's no credibility behind the purchase. And I've seen that happen firsthand, where we've had people, when I was at the wholesale group, for instance, I had people that were mimicking the company, offering these killer deals, but we're a credible company, but this person, they didn't verify who the person was. I think they were even using like a different email address to do the deal. And they just sent the wire because the deal was so good. And then they call and come through our customer service line and we'd be like, no, we have no trace back. So I think just being too eager. When something's too good to be true, you got to really trust it. And if it's that good to be true, it's probably worth you to get on the plane and verify it, right? Go check it out the first time. Go put some eyes on the freight. A lot of when I talk to a new customer I don't have a relationship with, I prefer they come out and visit. I prefer you to come out and visit, put eyes on the freight, be comfortable with us, because I can explain you this load till you're blue in the face and you receive it. It's not what you thought it was. And one of the things me and Brooklyn hold to our standard is being transparent. I can send you the photo. I want to do as much as we can to make you feel comfortable in the deal. But at the end of the day, if you don't know, you've never seen it, you're going on our word. And you can see something one way, I see it as another. I look. You start seeing so many loads, everything looks like trash at one point, right? But you got to learn how to look through that. So,
yeah, absolutely. And how do you guys handle the relationship after the sale? How do you handle the customer service after the sale?
As far as
handling complaints or follow up, or
I just send them to Brooklyn.
You send them.
No, I'm just kidding.
Brooklyn, we got a problem.
Yeah, call Brooklyn. No, I'm just kidding. I actually, what I like to do is I check in on the load to make sure it got there. I mean, I'm really involved from when the load's left. You received your load. Did you get your load yet? How's everything going? At least at the first few sales, right? After a while, it's clockwork. They know what they're getting. I'd say like 90% of my customers are it just flows. We don't even, they send me what they need. They know they're going to get it. They put an order this week for next week, and it's just it's clockwork. But for starting off with new customers, I just check in and verify it every step of the way, make sure everything's good. They got what they needed. And if they don't respond or reply right away, I know it's a good load. They don't get back to me right away. If I get a call the minute it hits the deck, I know there's something going on.
It gets delivered at 4, you get a phone call at 4:30, like, uh-oh.
Yeah, here we go. And I don't know that, so if everything's going right, you don't hear much. So I'll check in just to make sure things were fine, especially with new relationships are starting. But when there is a problem, we make sure we solve it. If you order from me mediums and you get a high piece count load, we're going to make that right. We're going to take the hit. We're going to pick it up and deliver you your medium load. That's just kind of where we stand behind that. Now, if it's a load where we told you it's like you're getting returns, we can't guarantee anything. Here's some pictures of what it is, and it's your risk. We'll probably still work with you as far as like on a credit or something, but we kind of like try to prevent that as much as possible. So but we definitely will work with our customers.
Yeah.
To make sure they're happy at the end of the day.
So, Mike, if you had to start Wireless Bros all over again and you had limited capital, what would your beginnings look like? What are the steps that you would take to get started in the business?
I think we have a pretty good concrete start. Like I say, I think we're a little more unique than most wholesalers because we have our own programs. I think, there's not much I would change. But maybe like off the jump, for instance, we have a case pack program, right? Where we have different categories of how you can purchase the case pack program. You could do a high piece count, you could do a medium large, or you could just do a raw. Whatever the first, 26, 30 pallets are, we'll do a raw load. Most people like doing it raw. I think categorizing case pack from the beginning would help us move more volume and have less headaches. And just kind of right size it. And that's something I think we've came up with already that we're doing now that we weren't doing 6 months ago or 5 months ago. So I think just one of the big things that we work on or we want to try to deliver is making sure we want to move fast, right? You want to move volume. We want everyone to be happy. I think a lot of people go behind while it's liquidation. You kind of get what you get, which is true. Definitely true. But however much you can, and it's hard, right? How much can you separate and categorize categories, especially in case pack or overstock, without being subjected to you're picking through it or you're choosing what's best for you or you're doing, So I think there's that part of it there, but just being able to have categories across the board and kind of trying to eliminate as much of the guessing game as possible. So that way volume can go faster, people can move quicker, and they can be more confident in what they're purchasing.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, do you move a lot of the loads to the Northwest? I get a lot of customers in like the Seattle area, that area, that always has a difficult time finding loads, and then obviously there's shipping involved, moving them up there.
Yeah, we have a couple. I wouldn't say we have a ton. We have a few up there that do get loads in that area. And a lot of them would most likely probably just want everybody wants it raw, because when you say raw, they're like, no one's ever touched it. They haven't seen it. They just give me the good, the bad, and the ugly. So I think, so we have good partners up in there that are like, hey, just when it's ready, just send it to me. I know what to expect. And we kind of like to spell out, like, for instance, in a case pack load from us on the West Coast, you can get car parts, you can get furniture, you get oversized stuff. We try to avoid, if there's any if the eye can detect anything like damaged or missing pieces, we'll try to avoid that. But I mean, there can be some of that in there too.
All right, Mike, how about the specifics? What kind of loads are you guys moving?
Yeah, so I think we move all different categories, right? So our popular loads are, we have a program, we call it our Monster program. It's really good for auctions. It's your medium, large loads. What's kind of unique about it, it's comparable to an Amazon medium, but it's not Amazon medium. It's not Amazon at all. It's going to be it's going to be brown boxes, but you're going to get a lot of high valued items. We actually build those from like I think it's roughly like 20 to 30 different warehouses of their different returns from their 3PL programs. We bring it all in and we build these programs out and kind of mix it as best as we can. That program's, I know for at least the last 3 years, has been going really strong. So that's our medium large for auctions. We call them monsters because they're all 8 feet tall. You could fit at least 26 pallets in the truck, which is hard because it's hard to get those shipped, right? So we know I think that's one of the hardest categories to find in the market right now. For at least that I'm hearing, is finding medium programs. I think a lot of the medium inventory is being ingested straight from the contracts to the end user, right? It's going from B to C or B to B to C. So that's a good program that we're doing well with. And we're able to hand stack that load. If you want it to travel, we can hand stack that. So we can put we can get up to like 42 pallets in a load and we'll hand stack that one. So that's one of our main bread and butter programs. I mentioned the overstock program. So we have 3 different ways you could purchase overstock from us now. We have the raw load, which is just 26 pallets, 6-7 feet tall. You can get every category from stationery to auto parts, furniture, everything in between, electronics, clothing, apparel. We have that load, and then we have a nice piece count. So we're going to look to take out auto. We're going to look to take out furniture, any of the bigger items, and we're going to just put in all the high piece count. So like if you're a whatnot seller, bin store, just, retail store, that program's good for you. Again, it's 26 pallets or more, 6-7 feet tall. You get a ton of, that's a great program that we have. And then we have our medium large, which is all brand new, all brand new furniture, larger items. And again, that one's 26 pallets and up. That's our case pack program. We have the return medium large. And then we have we call it really cheap clothing loads that do really well. We have the high piece count cheap clothing loads it comes from like Chain, Temu, marketplace sellers. That one does really well. You can put up to 52 pallets in a container, so you can pretty much ship it anywhere in the country. It's worth it. And then we have our high piece count load, which is like return mail. So we'll get a 53 footer, pull up to the dock, and it's just floor loaded with a ton of stuff. And we just throw those in the 4-feet gory lords. And we can also put 52 of those into a truck and ship that anywhere as well. I think those are our bread and butter. And then we got a lot of liquidation opportunities with clothing. So if you're looking from clothing from Sam's Club, Target, Walmart, you name it, other membership clubs, we have a lot of those that we deal with a lot of that as well.
All right, Mike, what's an unpopular opinion about liquidation that you think is true?
An unpopular, so I think there's like I was saying before, it's a huge industry. There's over $600 billion in returns. I think it's really easy to win in this industry just by doing the right thing. So a majority of the players, I think everybody truly has great intentions, but because you're dealing with so much volume and so much money, it's people get caught up in that one deal. And I think with that, like having that one deal mind can really screw you in this industry versus a relationship, right? Because that relationship can just keep feeding your customer, the supplier, all the way from the retailer to the wholesaler to the customer. And once you get that motion going, I think it's really, I hate to use the word easy, but business shouldn't be hard. And I think a lot of times in the liquidation, a lot of people are always so skeptical and like, oh, I don't know what's going to come in here or what this person's going to do or how much of the load's going to be trash, what's been picked through. You hear all that a lot. And I think once you get a good circle going from supplier, wholesaler to retailer to end user or exporter even for that matter, I think that's when the industries can be easy. It should be fun, should be easy, it should be exciting. It shouldn't be you shouldn't be hesitant. You shouldn't be scared of your supplier. Like, oh, what am I going to get this time?
Yeah. I mean, as a retailer myself, it's so much easier when I find a guy like you and I just put it on autopilot. Once a week, twice a week, or whatever, this load comes in. I know what it is, and I have my network's way to sell it. So yeah, I mean, that's so important in this business. How do you think a smaller buyer? How does a smaller buyer succeed in this industry? I mean, it seems like the smaller buyers are getting pushed out by the bigger buyers.
Yeah, I think the smaller buyers have more leverage because they can spend more money, right? Because they're usually like they're making the highest margins, right? I mean, if you're a small buyer trying to be a wholesaler, it's not going to work, right? But if you're a small buyer and you have a retail base and you're direct to consumer, I think you have leverage where you're like, hey, I can't buy a whole truck from you, but I can pay you 20% more than what you're doing, what you're getting on your truckloads. And by paying 20 to 25% more, I want you to, I want a little bit more guidance. I want you to cater my load a little differently. So like what I'll do for a smaller buyer is like, they might not give you a whole truck of overstock, right? But they can take a quarter truck of overstock, a quarter truck of clothing, a quarter truck of high piece, and maybe some mediums. So I think just working with them to help build them grow, and they'll, obviously if you're doing the right thing by them and you help them grow, it's a win-win for everybody. But I think so the smaller buyers being willing to pay more, they should be able to, they can take advantage of other dealers where someone like, let's say ourselves couldn't even take advantage of, right? We got 2,000 pieces of Nike clothes at like $8. Like I probably can't touch that deal because by the time I bring it back in, try to reshuffle it and get it, it just doesn't make sense. But a smaller buyer can pick that up all day and probably sell it for $20 a piece and just kill it. You know what I mean? Where for me, it's not really, something that we're going to spend our time on.
All right, what should someone focus on if they want to scale up in this niche?
I think for scaling up, I would say, so there's books out there, self-help books or whatever, like books helping make better, right? It's focus on one thing, right? Get one thing down really good and do it till, do it better than anybody else. So I think if you come into a niche, focusing on something that nobody else wants to do in the beginning. So putting in some more of the hard work, whether that's a category like furniture, right? Get really good at selling furniture. Focus on something that's not, because if you can sell furniture, you can sell anything, right? I'm just using that as an example. Some people are probably really good at selling furniture. I do fair with it, but I've seen furniture go from 5% to 25% of retail. And sometimes it's not the easiest niche. So if you can focus on one thing and get really good at it, and then on top of that is having relationships, right? So if you want to scale, having a couple good relationships is better than having a ton of meaningless relationships, right? Circle back to the wholesale market week. So going to events, meeting people, boots on the ground, and being focused, right? Because when you go to an event and you're not focused, you're going to leave with nothing. But if you're focused on finding a couple good furniture buyers, couple good furniture suppliers, and it doesn't have to be furniture. I don't know why I'm stuck on furniture, but it could be any niche and just get really good at that niche. And if you're laser focused on that, it's easier to not get sideswiped on, oh, this shiny new object here, this object over here. You're focused, laser focused. And then as you have a good base, you can venture off. Okay, let me add this now. And let me add that. And I think that's why wireless, bro, I don't want to say we're super successful, but why we're doing well is we've understood like, all right, we mastered this 3PL piece, which a lot of people truly don't love, right? A lot of people are not like super excited to go buy 3PL, but so if you can sell the bone when you get the meat, it's a lot easier, right? So I think focusing on that one thing and then let's scale. Now let's add a new category. Let's add clothing. Let's add this next product. So I think that's really helpful in this industry is just focusing on where everyone else isn't. I think they call it blue ocean, right?
blue ocean. There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. I will just add that, every load that I've ever been burned on is always like somebody I bought from for the first time that I just blindly trusted. And then, you get it in and it's not what it's supposed to be. So yeah, WHSL changes all that for you. You go to these trade shows, you build the relationships, you buy from them, and then you can consistently buy from them and build up your product, build up your line, build up your business. But and my advice to everybody, you got to have ways to sell everything. You got to have ways to sell everything because every load comes different. Every load, some loads are great for auctions, some loads are great for marketplace, some loads are great for, for whatnot, and then some loads are great for yard sales or flea markets. So, yeah, 100%. It's all about relationships. Now, the second thing go ahead.
No, I was just going to add to that. And you also have to be willing to cut your losses, right? Like if you do get that bad load, I mean, you could go try to find a supplier and kill them, right? What's that going to do for you? You got to be able to cut your losses, right? Get as much money back for that load as you can. You're not going to make the same mistake again and just move on. I've learned that with people that I'm still buying from today where they've sold me a load. It didn't work out like I thought it was going to work out. But I didn't sever the relationship over that, right? It was a good load. They picked up. We kind of worked through it. Maybe whether I got a credit or not, I just don't do that program again, right? Until they can guarantee it or make some problem. Because once I've tried it, now I know what works and what doesn't work. So I think there has to be a little bit of that risk in the industry. Because I think I might have said earlier, like you can't, once you buy something, don't do it again. But you have to take that risk. I'm sure some of those risks you took have paid off. So you have to take the risk and sometimes make those purchases. It's essential in our business. But if you do it 2 or 3 times, then it's on you. It's not the supplier.
Yeah. When you take a $30,000 hit, that's never fun. But if you don't, what's the saying? If you don't swing the bat, you'll never hit a home run. So yeah. But the second point I wanted to bring up was, you should never miss an opportunity to talk to the person next to you, right? There's so many times that you're, like I'll sit down at a bar for dinner, for lunch or something, and there's a guy next to me and I don't talk to him the whole time. And you just never know who can change your life, who can add another level of income to your life. And, or you can solve their problems, they solve your problems. And, that's why when people go to these shows, they have to put their hand out and shake everybody's hand they can and talk to everybody they can. So it's super important.
To double down on that. I mean, people are not flying out to the show to not do business, right? There's maybe it might not be a fit, but there's some value these people are bringing. I don't care who it is to this show, whether they're buying, they have industry knowledge, they have a connection, someone they can introduce you to. And I think people don't ask that enough of asking, we're not a great fit. They know somebody, they're not there for no reason. Who else can you introduce me to? Who can I introduce you? Who can I help you? I got this great freight broker that we use for these loads that go here, and it's crazy cheaper than I was paying before. There's always that chance to network and communicate. So I think we can all add value to each other, even if we're not getting anything. And in the long run, that connection will help down the road for sure.
100%. I mean, you'll know when you meet somebody if they say, hey, I need a 3PL load of medium and larges. And I just say, hey, go talk to Mike. He's got them right there. Because there's a lot of people there that'll say, oh, no, I'll get it for you. Don't worry, I'll get it for you. And try to take something out of the middle. But the good guys will just tell you where to get the loads. The load's here, the load's here, the load's here. If you want my loads, I got some available too. So no. You're right. There is, and everybody needs to understand that there's good people in the business and bad people in this business. So, find those good ones for sure. Mike, where do you see the future of Wireless Bros heading?
I see the future kind of like you were mentioning earlier is having different avenues to make sure the inventory is going in the right channel to maximize the recovery. I see us getting into more retailers, working directly with more retailers for sure, and helping them out with their returns issues. I think I see the same post every other day on social media. There's a huge problem with returns. I don't think one company is going to solve it, so there has to be options. One company might be better than another, so I think we're trying to position ourselves to be able to help companies solve problems with their returns, and not just in the cliche way, like actual products that's sitting that people are trying to get good at. Getting good at categories that people just don't care about. Let us work on those categories. And that's kind of where so that way Wireless Bros is a one-stop solution. Because if I can take out your trash, you'll trust me with your gold. You know what I mean? So that's my vision. That's Brooklyn's vision, is that we want to expand on that area for sure.
So Mike, what areas of the country do you guys service?
Yeah, it's a great question. So right now, primarily we have warehouses in Ontario and Eastvale, which is Southern California, which kind of helps us with the southwest area of the States. And then we have New Jersey, which is the East Coast. Those two locations we have are where we can say we're the vendor, where we own the product. We're not third-party suppliers, so we're like the first supplier out of New Jersey, out of California, and as well as we have another 3PL that we ship out of Atlanta and out of Illinois. Those are not as heavy. That's kind of just when we're just as good as the volume of returns goes. So those are kind of roller coasters as far as the volume go, but we have consistent inventory out of New Jersey and Southern California.
Nice. Okay, besides WHSL Marketplace, they're going to be able to see you at the show. How can they reach out to you, Mike? How can people find you?
Yeah, I think the easiest way to find me, which is another story, but my first name is Jonathan, but I go by Mike. So on LinkedIn, I'm Jonathan Mike Flores, but you can find me under the Wireless Bro brand. And then my cell phone number's on my profile. So probably LinkedIn's probably the best way for now. And then we have a Facebook page, which is Latopia. So our pallet sales and retail channel is Latopia on Facebook.
Latopia. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Perfect. All right. Thanks for coming on today, Mike. I 100% appreciate it. Guys, this is Liquidation Motivation partnering with WHSL Marketplace Show. You can meet us at the show. Mike will be there. I'll be there April 21st and 22nd, guys. Thanks for watching the show, Liquidation Motivation. Now go out there and make some money.